Hey folks, welcome to another 8-bit face-off kerfuffle. In this video I'm taking a look at Marble Madness Wannabe Spindizzy, released by Electric Dreams on all the usual 8-bit suspects. Um, this game, I think it caused a bit of controversy. In fact, it wasn't this one actually. I'm thinking of something completely different. Gyrus. Was it not Gyrus? Not Gyrus. Gyroscope by Melbourne House. Yeah, that was a Marble Madness clone that came out just before Marble Madness. But Spin Dizzy is a take on Marble Madness, as you will see. Um, First up is the Amstrad. That little control panel at the top, that was just a mister, so just ignore that. Now it's a very, very pretty game. It's it's funny how, but isometric graphics like this were kind of like the future. They were like, wow, people were really impressed with graphics like this. Obviously, pioneered by Ultimate Play the Game with Night Lore and you know Alien 8. Um, so games like this came along, and yeah, it's obviously. See, in fact, I'm talking nonsense. I'm saying it's inspired by Marvel Madness. It isn't. It's not inspired by Marvel Madness in the slightest. It's a similar kind of movement, but apart from the isometric 3D graphics, it's nothing like Marvel Madness. So forget what I was saying. This is think of it as Night Lore, but you're just trying to collect gems, and you've got this little I don't know what you'd call it. It's like half a diamond. It's spinning on its axis, and you're trying to navigate and pick up things. I can honestly say this is one of the most frustrating games you will ever play. Now, I did buy it on the C64 because isometric 3D games weren't common in the C64, so when you had the opportunity to own one, you rushed out and bought it quicker than your next door neighbour going down to the Curry's November Black Friday sale to get their 65-inch telly. I digress. Yeah, this is an exercise in frustration. Now, one thing I didn't realise until I'd played the last version is if you hold down the fire button, it kind of gives you a bit of a boost to allow you to get up hills. But I mean, look at that. It's I was only playing this for 5 minutes and I'd had enough. Um, yeah, there we go. Game over. That's Amstrad one. Right, this one is the ZX Spectrum. It's identical, identical to the Amstrad, apart from the colour. And I know you're saying, how can it be identical? Identical means it's exactly the same. Well, the graphics look the same apart from the colour. But unfortunately, it's got identical gameplay or lack of. Um, Again, it's. I can't imagine anybody actually getting any enjoyment out of this game. I mean, I do remember, so I can still see the box. It was a crystal case box. It's quite a big box. I bought it and I played it a handful of times, and it was simply too difficult, just impossible. Maybe if you persevered, I've got the attention span of a gnat, so I do give up fairly easily when it comes to video games. Possibly if you stuck at it, you would get used to it. Possibly our Amstrad and Spectrum friends who were used to isometric 3D games might have gotten better with it. But you've got to, when I was playing this for the purpose of this video, I actually had to hold the joystick round at a weird angle so that the direction you move is reflected in the direction you're actually holding the joystick. Um, and even then, it didn't make a toss of difference. You can see I'm completely pants at it. Um, yeah, a lot of the games that came out to the 8-bit machines, they were like an exercise in determination. You had to kind of grind it out, and you were determined to not die, or you were determined to finish it because money was hard to come by. You didn't have Nowadays you get free games. People complain about the price of games. Games back in the 80s, you had to pay for them. Yeah, you had your shitty budget games. Most of the budget games were crap. until the sort of second generation version. So yeah, when you spent £8, you were determined to rinse every bit of gameplay out of that game. So people would stick at it and just dogged determination and stubbornness to get to the end. Sadly, I wasn't one of these people. So this was the version I had, Commodore 64. Um, very, very, very similar to the Amstrad one in colour. Yeah, it's slightly nicer sound effect. That gets a bonus point. We'll go a different direction. Excuse me. But sadly, it's got the same possible gameplay. Now, this is the point I think where I realise if you hold down the fire button, you get an extra boost. Not quite yet. I do figure it out eventually. It's just impossible. There we go. Yep, yep. The problem is if you overshoot, you fall off. Oh bollocks! And even with that, it's ridiculous. It's one of the most unplayable games ever. Never mind uh, whatever it's called, Hercules, or I can't remember the version in the Amstrad. This is where not the Amstrad on the Amiga. This is where it is, folks. This is frustration, video game frustration personified. You look up frustrating game, it's got a picture of this game in it. This isn't enjoyable in the slightest. People played it just because they think I'm fucking determined. I'm going to complete this game. The bastards. Um, but yeah, aye, that's why I think it was. Can't remember how much it was. It was possibly £8, £9 because games did start to increase slightly in the mid 80s. But yeah, I played it for a very short space of time, and I thought, no bollocks to that. And I probably used it to tape over and then copy some other games that were infinitely more playable than this. So yeah, what version should you play? Well, actually, when I look at it there, when you see them side by side, graphically, the C64 is quite a bit better looking. It's got the colour. I mean, the graphics look the same, but it's colourful. It's definitely colourful. Is it any better a game? Hell no. Like I says, there's got to be easier and cheaper ways of getting frustrated. Just go and wait on a bus, go and wait on a train coming, something like that. That will give you equal amounts of frustration without having to actually burden yourself and play this. Is it a good game? Possibly. Personally, I think it's not. It's far too difficult and completely unenjoyable. But you know what? That was the 80s for you guys. That's what we had to roll. Never mind your Call of Duty bollocks. Anyway, folks, as always, thank you so much for watching.